Welcome to JasonWhiskyWise and myself, Jason, today bringing you whiskey review into the Talisker Neist Point. Now, this is actually a travel retail expression which I picked up a dram off from Drinks by the Dram. And if you're new to my channel and you like the whiskies from Talisker, be sure I'll leave a link over here to the Talisker playlist, as I've reviewed so far almost all these whiskies over there. I've got a couple more to go and then we've completed the Talisker range. So I'll get started by pouring myself a dram. And we will just start to talk about the Talisker Neist Point. Now, it was initially released for travel retail, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. So I think it was in 2016 is when they released the Neist Point. And it's initially an expression, again, exclusively limited to travel retail. The actual Neist Point itself is a lighthouse based in the complete far west of the Isle of Skye. So I might have a picture somewhere here on the screen. And that's actually the same lighthouse that is on the box of the Neist Point. Now, it's also, in terms of what it says and states on the whiskey, is that it does have a combination of the most oldest casks in Talisker and at the same time some of the most youngest whiskey from the distillery. So that's about the bit for the age part. In terms of the actual ABV, this is bottled at 45.8. It's a trademark of Talisker and they haven't bottled it any higher. In terms of the actual casks, again, they don't specify. They do state it is a combination of old casks and young ones put together. Now, in terms of the overall distillery, is Talisker's Distillery. They are actually owned by the parent company Diageo, and they are located on the Isle of Skye in Scotland. Now, that is the islands in terms of whiskey producing regions. Now, the price point on that box over there, and I wanted to give you guys more or less the travel retail price, because domestic market online, some websites are saying £110, but when I flew through Heathrow Airport last time, it says £140 in travel retail. Whether that's changed in the few weeks I've been there, it will be to see next time when I travel, but that's the price on it at the moment. Now, in terms of exclusivity, it is exclusive, as they state, it's completely travel retail. There is some shops in the UK that actually have it, and those are online shops. And that's because people from that shop traveled through, bought a bottle, and put it on their shelves and tried to sell it on. So props to them. Now, in terms of caramel colouring, I can imagine it must have caramel colouring at 45.8. It's a 50-50 with Talisker's, because some of them look like they don't have it at all. But then some of the bottles in the European market do have it written. So we're not too sure. We'll just go straight into assessing the nose. So into the nose. So to begin on the nose of Talisker Neist Point, it's actually quite mellow, quite soft, but the spices are still lingering, which you get that classic house style of Talisker, which hasn't really gone away from. I'm getting more or less to begin with is like vanilla fudge. There is a little bit of pepper over there. There's like a little black pepper, crackle of black pepper, hints of sort of almost like warming spices. A little bit of chili flakes. And there is that little soft, coastal, sort of salty character. But that's to be really seen on a Talisker expression. There is almost even a slight musky character, as if you're standing in an actual dunnage or a warehouse and you're just smelling sort of the aroma of the angel share. And I have actually just done in the last video, I just reviewed the Talisker 18. So if you want to see a comparative between the two, I'll leave it linked up here. And that way you can check the 18 as well for a review on that. But minus that, I'm picking up maybe a slight, it's almost like a doughy character. It's like salted pretzels, actually. Still giving me that little bit of that sea salt, but dusted over pretzels. And freshly made pretzels, quite warm. Interesting. Let's get into the palate next, Sláinte. So from the first sip from the Neist Point, it does reveal a sort of classic style of Talisker, but you can definitely tell there's some youthful whiskey in this one, bringing a little bit of bite to the actual first tasting. It starts off quite salty, quite briny on arrival. That classic sort of character. Then it brings into a little bit of a slight smoked character. And for me, I'm pinpointing this one to smoked rainbow trout. So if you've ever gone fishing or if you ever just go and buy rainbow trout and you smoke it in the smoker, it's almost like a smoked fishy sort of character on that one. But a bit easy going. There is sort of a note again of like a pepper coming through, like peppercorn. And the saltiness now is coming back in again. And it's almost like salted popcorn. like, yeah, freshly salted popcorn when you're going to the movies, a little bit like that. It's not too heavy, but at the same time, it's quite easily palatable. There's even that slight pretzely, malty character, which I'm getting back. And this is almost like a chewy maltiness that sort of arrives back on the palate. And it gives you I'd say sort of a light medium. It's not so rich and voluptuous as I'd like on this Talisker style, especially considering I just done the 18. But it's I'd say light medium in terms of overall texture. So let's get into the finish, and then we'll come to our conclusion on the Neist Point. So my overall conclusions on the Neist Point, it's actually quite a nice whiskey, quite soft, but much more brinier and saltier than most of the other expressions I've had. Now with the Neist Point, I'm actually going to be comparing it with the 18 and the 57 North. And these two expressions are in that sort of price bracket, which is slightly higher and between around about 60 to 100. So I'm putting it into that price bracket because I don't feel it's good to compare this one to a 25-year-old. As for my overall conclusions on the finish of this whiskey, a salty, malty character, which is a combination of the two, really comes through, but the finish on this one is very short. It literally lasts like 3 seconds for me, and that was it. It does dry up with a slight oaky character, but it's not very heavy. It's almost like you call it oat cakes. It sort of just dries the full palate and all the textures off it and all the moisture off it. So overall, rating wise, this is actually going to be a tough one. Actually, no, it's going to be an easier one. A 82 out of 100. Now, this is because it's 140 pounds. When I come into the 18, the Portree, the other expressions I've tried from Talisker, this one is at the moment the most expensive one I've tried, and it just doesn't embody the character and the price point. I feel it's just too overly priced. At 140 or even 110, I still wouldn't even pay £80 for this whiskey. It's just, I feel that's just too high in price for my personal palate. It's just more or less, this has just got layers of sort of salted pretzels and quite a salty, briny character. Not very much on that fruity aspect at the same time. The smoke is there, but it's a gentle, sort of like a soft, sort of smoked fish character. It's not as the sort of classic style I find with the other Talisker. So 82 out of 100 is my conclusion. Do I think it's worth the money? I personally think it's double at what it should be. I personally wouldn't suggest it unless you wanted to go and venture out or do what I did and buy a dram from Drinks by the Dram, and then that way it makes a more solid judgment in your call for if you want to buy the bottle or not. On that though, I'm going to leave the video at that. If you have enjoyed, by all means, feel free to drop it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I'm going to leave a subscribe button just over here and some other on-screen videos from Talisker. So maybe I might leave the 18 down here, or the 25 actually going to be in that corner. And we'll do 18 and something else over there. So on that note, if you have enjoyed the video, drop it a like, subscribe. And this has been JasonWhiskyWise. I'll say thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you all for the next video. Slaja.